All right, we are joined with Luke. Now I'm going to say your last name wrong. It's Staley?
Yeah, that's it.
It's
just like Stanley without the N.
Okay, so Luke Staley, coming off of his first round finish from Stellar Fights 47 this past weekend. So Luke, talk about yourself, give us some info, how you doing, where you train, some shout outs, whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah, Luke Staley, training at a Powerhouse MMA in Frederick, Maryland. A little bit about myself. I'm a professional cage fighter, and I also do full-time vocational ministry. That's my 9 to 5. That is my dream job that I'm blessed to get to wake up and do every day. I work for the best 501c3 nonprofit in the world, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We serve coaches and athletes and sports programs in our community. Really, I'm blessed for the opportunity to try to make real change, just be a tool for the Lord to make a difference in people's lives. And we do a lot of great things, I think, for where I serve here in the city of Frederick, which is where I live. But ultimately, my goal is to talk to people about Jesus and interact with competitive people, coaches, athletes, people who play sports. So really, for someone like me who loves sport and competition and loves Jesus, it's the perfect job. But I also have this weird love for this crazy, chaotic sport of mixed martial arts. It's a beautiful thing. And guess that's a quick rundown on Luke Staley. Yeah. Shout outs just to my beautiful fiance, Madeline. And then over the past weekend, I became a fan of 2 fighters. There were 2 particularly that I thought were super cool. I'm an avid fan of the sport. You know, some guys watch the sport, some guys are hardcore fans. I'm a huge fan of the sport, so I stayed and watched all the fights. And just personality, fighting style, and sort of swagger in the way that they carry themselves throughout the week. Shout out to Lake Gee and Andrew Cruz. Those guys rock. So I'm a fan. I'm an Andrew Cruz fan. I'm a Lake Gee fan. Just the way that they carried themselves throughout the week, I thought was cool. Lake has this very distinct sort of California swagger about him. And he's very composed in the cage. He fought a really tough guy in Matt Hicks. That fight could have gone either way. He ground out the decision. And then Andrew Cruz fought Kevin Chung, who's a really good fighter. And in all honesty, Kevin's probably a little bit slicker on the feet, maybe a little bit more athletic. But Andrew put in what I can only describe as the ultimate blue-collar performance. Right. And just beat the crap out of Kevin. I mean, all due respect, it wasn't Kevin's night, but I think most of that you just credit to the fact that the Hurricane's a beast, doesn't stop coming forward.
Right.
So shout out to Lake and Andrew. Those guys rock.
That was a fun interview, actually, talking to Andrew, learning about, some of his upbringing. And I didn't know he had any, military, career experience and things like that as well. But it's pretty cool to see him kind of walk through what their plan was and what his plan was and how they stuck to it. I mean, he was on him tight the entire night. Like, good plan.
Yeah. Looked like a 145 Habib out there. Also, Andrew said that he was 175 or 176, which makes me feel better about myself because I'm like 170 right now, which is a little bit heavy for what I like to be, but he's got me beat by 4 or 5 pounds.
So kind of tailing off of that, what was your game plan going into this fight and how well did you stick to it, do you feel like?
Okay, so honestly, we couldn't find any recent footage of Ian Radford, and it was his professional debut, so there wasn't a lot of info going in. So the first round, our job was just the feeling out process. That was the game plan, kind of keep all of my tools sharp. Our initial plan was to stand and strike with him, but he wound up clinching up with me, and I was able to get the takedown, find the finish. Every single one of my fights, even the ones that I've wound up dropping recently, I take everyone down on the fence. I don't think I've had a fight in the past 5 years where I haven't scored a takedown on the fence. So I was really surprised when he clinched up with me. Now, he did have this tendency that we watched even in his old fights where he'd like blitz in with his strikes. And I think that's what happened is he threw like a right cross and tagged me with a pretty clean shot. But then, because he was kind of blitzing in almost karate style, we kind of
Hmm.
bumped into each other, and he wound up clinching up me. And I was like, well, that's not a good idea for you, Ian. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't have put myself in that situation. And yeah, I mean, I brag all the time about Coach Rob McCraw, our coach, head coach, MMA coach at Powerhouse MMA. His cage IQ for MMA is through the roof. It's kind of remarkable. And so our fighters, amateur through pro, our whole team, we dominate on the fence. Doesn't matter if our back starts there or we start with their back on the fence. We really dominate in that area of the game, and obviously that led to the takedown, which led to the first round finish.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned before that it was his pro debut, but you went 0-1. Do you think that experience, that first level, that first pro fight gave you that edge?
Um, no, I'm really not a big proponent of like out anything external being like the reason you want to fight. Like, oh, ring rust is the reason I lost, or oh, like my better record was the reason I won. It's like, no, it's like the reason you win or lose a fight is because you got punched in the face or you punched the other guy in the face.
Nice.
I mean, I was vocal about this, I think, before the fight, too. I think the mental component does play a significant part. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I'm feeling great mentally or feeling terrible mentally. I got to go kick the guy. I got to go punch the guy. I got to go choke him unconscious. I've had fights where I felt fantastic and won. I've had fights where I felt fantastic and lost. I've had fights where I felt awful and performed fantastic. I've had fights where I felt awful and performed awful. So as I've grown, I've kind of come to understand that at the end of the day, like it's all about this. You know, we emphasize a lot on this, and don't get me wrong, it is important. But the reason I won that fight is because I was a more skilled fighter on the night. And
Right.
if I would
Okay.
have lost, no excuses there. It wouldn't have been because of ring rust. Wouldn't have been because of anything other than the fact that he was a more skilled fighter that night.
Right. Good point. Let's see. So you did mention in the press conference how you emphasized really, really wanting to go 1-1 and not going 0-2, and how much momentum that would have carried you now in your career. How does that feel? You got to feel great.
Yeah, that was the job. I was in Salisbury for a business trip, and I closed the deal. I got the job done. I mean, gosh, so I mean, we talked about this and just like the difference that I'm going into 2022 off a win, off a first round finish with an even record. Like that sets me up in an okay spot for the trajectory of my career. And the difference between that and 0-2 as a professional is like it's such a huge gap. Like, oh my goodness. Um, so this is big for me. Obviously, right now, my intention is not to try to fight full time for a living, but I don't know. We'll see where God takes me. It'd be a cool opportunity to get to a bigger stage. I just turned 24 last week. Dana White, he likes to sign guys between 26 and 28. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the sport. I watch the Tuesday Night Contender Series every week. He always mentions guys as under 26 as young, and Dana always mentions guys at 27 and 28 as the prime of their career. One of my role models, Matt Semi the Jedi Semmelsberger, who was my first MMA coach when I first started out as an amateur, who's now in the UFC, just came off a 15-second knockout on that Volkanovski Ortega pay-per-view card. Matt got signed to the UFC when he was 27. So that's sort of where I based my litmus test. So
Okay.
I'm going to continue fighting till I'm around that 27, 28, age. And if I'm like 3-3, 4-4, I might fight one more time to go off on a win and then just call it a career. Say, man, it was a cool run. But if I'm, 6-1, 7-1, 8-2, 8-1, something like that, there's a good possibility I might take a full year to just fight full time and see where I can get. Because when you're pushing that record, there's a chance he might get a Contender Series call or something like that. So in the back of my mind, that's sort of where I'm headed. Like, we'll see where I am at 27, 28 and kind of go from there. Who knows?
Okay,
That's a long ways away.
true, but I mean, those are very good goals. And a lot of those guys are on that show that they might be, 5-1, and they're like the main event on those Dana White cards. I mean, you're definitely
There
not
was
far.
actually a guy who went 0-2 in his professional career and just got signed. He went 0-2 and then won 10 straight and just got signed to the UFC. Now, fortunately, that's not my plan because I didn't go 0-2. I got the first round finish
Right.
last Saturday. But I'm just gonna stay somewhat active. I don't think I'll get into 3 fights a year, but if I can get in 2 fights a year, let's see, 24, so 25, 26, 27. If I can get 6 fights in before I'm 27 or around that time, that'd be fantastic. So that's sort of my rough outline of a plan. We'll see
Okay.
what winds up happening.
Now, if you ever got the call to a Contender Series, performance or something like that, would you train outside of, your normal camp? Would you go somewhere else? Would you cross train? How would you do it?
Yeah, so fortunately, I have a coach who has a really good relationship with a couple of different gyms. We have a couple of teammates on our team who have gone to train out with Elevation Fight Team.
Nice.
Our heavyweight is good friends with the undefeated UFC heavyweight Alexander Romanov. Obviously, I have a good working and personal relationship with Matt Semmelsberger and his camp of at Crazy 88. I was training with Matt Hicks, who was on that card. I think 2 or 3 weeks before the fight, and all those 45ers up there. And there's a couple of other connections that we have where we can send guys like myself to other gyms for a couple of weeks. So my coach is not over possessive, kind of old school mindset coach. He's very progressive in his coaching mindset, and he is all for cross training to get different looks, to both give different looks to our friends at other gyms and to get good looks from other people, high level guys.
Nice. I mean, so we're actually in a lucky spot. I feel like the East Coast is starting to kind of blow up a little bit. I mean, you have guys like Kyle and Chris Dawkins from Philly doing things. You mentioned Romanoff, those guys. So, I mean, you might not have to travel too far anyway.
Yeah, there's a good prospect of UFC talent within a couple, well, not even a couple, like an hour's drive of me.
Right.
So fortunate to be connected in that way.
Right. All right. So you mentioned your job and your career and what you like to do. Do you plan on using your fighting career as a platform for what you do for your 9 to 5?
Yeah, I mean, you were there Saturday night.
Uh-huh.
Man, I'm shouting it from the rooftops. Jesus,
Right.
Jesus, Jesus. So, man, I gotta say that something really cool about Saturday night. Brad and Brandon put on an amazing show. I mean, the Y Comico, the energy there, the production value of the walkouts, of the pre-fight media, everything was amazing. And for me, that experience Saturday night, what was so cool about it is that was everything that I thought I wanted.
Nice.
A couple years ago before I was walking with the Lord. And all I wanted was to be a professional fighter, getting my hand raised in front of a bunch of people, my name up on the Jumbotron, I'm on TV on, Delmarva Sports Network and everything, and, making money, getting to be a professional athlete. That's what I thought I wanted. And the coolest thing about Saturday night was after that high of Saturday night, Sunday morning came. I drove back Saturday night. I'm really close with my church, so I wanted to make it back in time for church the next morning.
Absolutely.
And the coolest part of this weekend, past weekend, was Sunday morning. I just sat down and was in my Bible for, 3 or 4 minutes before church. I just sat down and had a little bit of quiet time. And those 3 or 4 minutes were so much more indescribably whole and fulfilling and exciting than the Saturday night fight. And, I have a lot of awesome fans, a lot of supporters on social media, in person. And everyone's like, man, Luke, like, that's so awesome. Like, you deserve this. You earned this, and everyone wants what I have. Saturday night, but I'm trying to tell people that the best thing you could ever have is what I had Sunday morning, which is just a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Okay.
So the contrast of everything I thought I wanted a couple years ago happening Saturday and everything I needed happening Sunday was a really cool experience for me. So yeah, this platform is only a vehicle for me to tell people about Jesus. Would I like to make it to the UFC or Bellator one day? Yeah, that'd be cool. UFC even more than Bellator, right?
Right.
Bellator, if you're watching, if you're going to give me a call there, don't take that personally. um, but this all comes and goes. No matter how much money, no matter how many accolades I make, I can't take any of that with me. But there's something that's much more important than that, and that's eternity, which lasts forever. And this is only a short time that we have here on Earth. So I'm definitely blessed to get to do what I love. Don't get me wrong. I love this sport, and I have goals that I'm hoping to accomplish in the sport. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for me, the ultimate goal, is to use this platform to just tell people, hey, Jesus loves you. He wants a relationship with you. Anyone can have that, and it's also the best thing you could ever have. So
Nice.
it's the answer to that question. Yes.
Nice. Fantastic. So, I mean, and you have to get this all the time, but being in your line of work and your professional career as a fighter, you have to get a lot of crazy looks, turning heads. Like people are saying, like, how does he do this? How do you do this? Have you ever had anybody, I guess, shy away from what you do for your 9 to 5 when they find out that you're a fighter?
I don't think so. I don't think I've ran into that experience yet. I think a lot of it sometimes is people who I think people who like don't know much about what it means to know Jesus, and like they think the sport's like super cool anyway. So it's actually like a really good avenue to connect with people. It has the opposite effect of scaring people away, and it actually
Right.
like brings people in.
Okay.
So I'm definitely blessed for that. If this fighting thing ever seriously affected my my main job, I would definitely choose that over this. But fortunately, I know that God has put me in this position um, to actually help spread the message, which is super cool.
Nice. Nice. Let's see. So you said you're engaged. You guys have a date set?
Yeah, January 8th. Man, I have had
Ah,
teammates, uh, other fighters, promoters, media outlets asking me like, "Oh man, like, are you gonna get back in there soon? Like, you didn't take any damage." And I'm like, "No, stop asking me. Like, I am getting married in like 75 days, and I'm not
right.
thinking about booking another fight until after that. So like, don't mention it to me."
Smart.
Um,
Smart.
yeah,
I mean,
my
so if you
fiance.
if you wait 2 more days, it would be on my birthday. So I'm just saying you could always do that.
Hey,
That's awesome, though. So I wanted to mention because I saw it on your Instagram and stuff that you were, engaged and whatnot. Um, Another fighter on the card, Carl Williams. I just spoke to him, but he mentioned how instrumental it's been to have his wife behind him the entire time. I'm sure it's the same way with you, but how's that going? Planning a
yeah,
wedding and everything else has got to be stressful.
she has been so understanding, and I'm so blessed to have her by my side. I mean, I am a little bit behind on wedding planning just because the past 8 weeks have been dedicated to the past 3 minutes, Saturday night. Hey, that's our motto at Bauer House: train hard, fight easy, right? But
Absolutely.
she has been by my side for both my pro fights, and she has been nothing but supportive. We definitely have an understanding of our relationship where when it's not fight time, it's all about her. Those non-fight weeks, which are most of the year, I got to be there to support her, and she's got to come first. But then also when it's fight time, she understands that she's getting married to a professional fighter, and
Okay.
whether I fight 5 times a year or one time a year, during those 8 weeks, she is committed to helping me reach my goals because my goals are her goals and her goals are my goals. That's the way we try to look at it.
Okay. Now, did she meet you through fighting or did she meet you through someplace else? How'd you
No,
guys?
we met completely independent of it. And that
Okay.
was just kind of something. I mean, really quickly on, like if you're a fighter, like on the first date, you're gonna find a way to weave into the conversation. Any
Absolutely.
fighter who says he wouldn't is a liar. Um, but no, she like didn't quite know what it was, but after I kind of explained it to her, she kind of got it. And then after going through my first pro fight camp, she's like, oh yeah, I kind of have a good understanding of what this is. And she started training now.
Oh,
So I got
nice.
her into jujitsu, yeah, and now she's doing it independent of me. It used to be she'd go to class with me, but now she's actually going to class like by herself without me. So she actually enjoys the sport to a certain degree. Maybe not MMA, but the jujitsu side, which is that the gateway drug to understanding
Absolutely.
violence.
That's how it starts. Oh, that's awesome. And I honestly, I feel like most women should learn at least some basic jujitsu. I mean, just for self-defense alone, it's amazing. So that's funny. She's in there without you.
Yeah, it's
Right.
awesome. Makes me very happy.
So you mentioned your weight, what you're at right now. What's the first thing you ate after you won?
Oh my
What's
goodness.
what's the celebration dinner?
So
What's
immediately after the fight, me and my coach got some pizza, we got some wings, we got some mozzarella sticks. I drove home and I got home at 3:22 in the AM and I ate a full pint of Ben and Jerry's. I mean, that's what my
jeez.
dude, this is what my freezer is just stocked with for post fight. Just like ice cream after ice cream. I've got like cake, I've got cookies,
Nice.
cheeseburgers. Dude, I have the worst of any, not just fighter, but any like individual that I know. So
See,
ice cream is like my go-to. Yeah.
it's funny. So I feel like most people, and I feel like the lighter weight guys, they crave the sweets. And I feel like the bigger weight guys, they crave the pizza. Like that's like they're like, oh, I had to have this, I had to have this sandwich, this burger, et cetera, steak. But it's always interesting to see the lighter weight guys kind of lean towards the sweets, the cakes, the ice cream.
Man, I'll take it all. Give it all to me. I got some sliders in there too, some cheeseburgers. So that's probably gonna be my breakfast here in a bit before I head off
Nice.
to jiu-jitsu. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so are you a wrestling coach, you said?
I am. I am a wrestling
Do
coach.
you ever like encourage any of your wrestlers to get into MMA? I mean, probably you get a frown from parents, but do you ever have anyone in the wrestling room who you look at and you go, dude, this kid would be a animal if he transitioned into
All the
MMA?
time. All the time. And it's funny you mention that because I feel like a lot of times when our guys don't do as well in their career, their high school career, and they're not getting any kind of like college looks, I always say like, hey, like if you're not done with the sport, go check out this style of grappling. Go check out this. Go check out this. And a lot of times too, like when they find out that I've trained, they're always like, oh, really? Really? What's it like? What's it like? What's it like? Show us some stuff. I'm like, maybe when you're older, maybe when you're older. Like, I'm not trying to like, you know, combine the two, but it's a good crossover for sure. And if kids aren't done with wrestling, but maybe wrestling's done with them, it's a nice little transfer.
Yeah, I never wrestled. That I sometimes I wish I did, and then other times I think everything worked out perfectly. But I played soccer in college, and I literally just heard Joe Rogan talking about how Jose Aldo used to be a professional soccer player, or was in like the academy to become one before it transitioned to MMA. And then Kenny Florian was actually a Division I soccer player. And so I was like, man, if they transition well, maybe I could transition well. But yeah, I never wrestled, which is funny because my ears are like horribly cauliflower.
Right. Well, so I actually get kind of laughed at because I don't have any. It's weird. So
Yeah, we got a black belt at our gym. Shout out to Coach JD. JD has been wrestling since like fourth grade, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So the dude has literally been grappling for like 3 or 4 decades and
nice.
does not have cauliflower ears. Then you got guys who will come in and after like a month, their ears are like blown
I feel
up.
like some people get it more and some people get it less. Like I used to have like my coach would literally, I mean, kind of to mess with you and get in your head during training, but he would like, he would take you down, he would get on top, and he would try to make you make mistakes, so he'd punch you in the ear and stuff. And even still, like getting punched directly in the ear, nothing would swell up. They would bruise. They would bruise. So I'd have like purple ears and things on top here and around, but never swelled up. So say I'm a
That
knock on wood.
sounds illegal, but also yes, to the point of the cauliflower ear. I think
I'm a knock
cauliflower
on
ear
wood.
is there's somewhat of a genetic component to it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Real quick, I gotta mention Carl Williams because that guy, he was my media day partner.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's hilarious. He's
is.
like the most mild-mannered guy. He's like, yeah, he's like, wrestling is kind of the same as MMA because in wrestling you have the circle, and then he's like, and then you just put a cage around the circle. And I'm like, the punches and the kicks and the knees and the elbows to the face, like, don't change it. He's like, yeah, wrestling and MMA are pretty much the same. You just put a cage around it. And I'm like, what? Is that how you look at it? Because for me, they're very, very different. Like,
he was a blast to talk to.
But I think that just like kind of shows into his mindset. Like, the dude is fearless.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even take into the consideration the fact that he could get his face beat in. He's just like, yeah, it's there. I'm just there to compete, just like wrestling. I'm like,
a little different.
This guy's crazy.
Now, I spoke to him yesterday during my work lunch break, and I'm working at a school, so I found like a quiet room to like hide into and stuff. But I probably could have spent easily another 30 minutes talking to him about just random things because he's very, very comfortable to talk to. Like, it seems like you've already met him, you've known him for years. Like,
he's so mild-mannered.
Yeah. But like you said, like he trains with like the Lima brothers and like guys like that who are known for being brutally strong and powerful. And he's just like, yeah, been kicked in the leg a couple of times, so make sure I don't do that, don't do this again. And he's just like very calm about everything. But that was good. Let's see. I don't want to hold up too much today. You got some sliders waiting on you. Let's see.
Yeah, 9:30 in the morning. Gosh.
Right. So you mentioned what you plan on doing for the rest of this year, and the wedding and things like that. Are kids in the talks? You plan on having kids? Is that down the road?
Not anytime soon. No, okay. I mean we're both pretty young. I'm 24 and she's 21. Okay. So she's still finishing up school. So that's all on God's timing. But at the moment we're probably gonna wait a little while. We can have kids in another 4 or 5 years and still be in our 20s when we have kids. So we're not in any rush. We're very young. So
nice. All right. Well, that's all I got for you. I will be sending you a little swag here.
Oh, let's go. I appreciate it.
So any last minute shout outs, anything you want to say, feel free to air it out.
No, man, this was a great interview. I got to talk about a lot of really cool stuff. I appreciate you helping me just get awareness out there for all the cool things I like to talk about. And man, hopefully Brad and Brandon are gonna get more of these events at the Y Comic Go in the future, because that was an awesome event. If they keep putting on shows like that, this promotion is gonna grow into something pretty big. Yeah, hopefully whenever the next card is, I might be on the next one and bump into you there. I'll be wearing my The Right Thing swag. So
all right. Well, we'll be looking out for you either way, watching your career grow. Try to get you on some bigger shows if possible, but keep doing what you're doing. It's working. So
yes, I will say one thing I'm very proud of in the article that you wrote pre-fight. I haven't seen the judges' scorecard since 2018. Now make it 5 fights in a row. Never seen the judges' scorecards in my professional career. And even the loss, hey man, I'll take it. I'd rather lose getting finished than just like let a fight slip away from me over the course of 3 rounds. I'm always going to go after it.
I like that.
So my goal is to never see the judges' scorecards in my professional career. Because 1 or 2 things are going to happen. Either 1, I'm going to finish him, or 2, we're going to get into the 3rd round. If I'm losing, my mentality is like, I'm going to go at him so hard that I'm either going to finish him or he's going to finish me. But
I like
I
it.
will never be one of those guys, you know, who you're watching on TV and they're down 2 rounds, down 3 rounds, and they're just like passively letting the fight slip away from them. It's like, dude, you got to just go for it, man.
Right. Urgency is key.
Yeah, I know it's easy to say that as a fan, you know, with Buffalo Wild Wings, but you know, I am a professional fighter. I've been in the cage 8, 9 times now, amateur and pro combined. So I'm not just talking it up, man. I am gonna go for it to get the finish, all 15 minutes or all 25 minutes of the fight.
I like that, and I'm sure the fans are going to appreciate that as well. So it only helps.
Yeah, I've had less than 5 minutes of combined cage time in my professional career, so
Woo!
we're gonna keep the streak going. First round finishes for days.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. Cannot thank you enough for joining us this morning, and it's been a great chat. We'll be speaking to you soon in the future. Good luck with the wedding. Good luck with all that stuff, and stay in touch. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Mike.
No problem.